Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Ryan Taylor. This is the MDS Student and Alumni panel. I am the Career Planning and Placement Coordinator. Before we jump into things, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Musqueam speaking peoples here today on UBC campus. I invite you to reflect on which territory you reside on and who might have resided there before. Yeah, I'd like to jump into things. Let's start talking about the MDS-CL. What is it? Who does it? So we've got three panelists with us today. I'll start with Mia Lee. Mia is an alumnus of the program. And so big welcome to Mia. We also have Sneha Jhaveri. She is a current student in the program. And finally, we have Shounak Mondal, who is also an alumnus of the program. So welcome to all of you today. So let's jump into the questions. People have sent us a number of questions. We are also getting questions through the Q&A that we are going to be answering. So the first question I have here is a question that we very frequently get at the program, which is, what is the difference between MDS, or we have MDS Vancouver, MDS Okanagan, and MDS Computational Linguistics? So I'm going to ask Mia, but yeah, we have MDS Okanagan, MDS Vancouver on the one hand, which certain similarities between them, and then MDS Computational Linguistics, which is kind of its own beast. So what is the difference there?
Yeah, for me, MDS and MDS-CL, the major difference is the computational linguistics aspect, so the language side of things. I do realize just in terms of course materials that MDS will touch on time series that the CL students don't really learn about that. They also work with tools such as Docker a little bit more, but for CL, it's really about language, it's about linguistics, and if you want to do natural language processing, you should really consider CL.
So for Shounak, what are some of the NLP things that were most exciting to you, or language-related things that were most exciting to you when you're first looking at the program, and then also now that you're out of the program, what are the technologies that you learned that you're most excited about?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So yes, the CL world is that of language and mixing AI together, which is very exciting because we see that if machines are able to interpret human language, then it's a completely different ball game. So in terms of applications, we see chatbots, which I'm sure all of us know about, and then there's that underlying technology of how chatbots work and how you extract key phrases and then they make meaning out of it. So imagine somebody, instead of querying or filtering from a drop down, what if we can ask a system a question like we would ask any other person? So those are some of the exciting outcomes of languages.
And turning to you, Sneha, so what were the languagey things about the program that first attracted you to the program, and what differences have you're not too far into the program yet? I think as the program goes on, first year together with the MDSB students, and then you split apart, so maybe it's a bit early, but what languagey things attracted you?
So basically, I have 3 years work experience at Deutsche Bank, and I worked on a couple of language-related projects, NLP-related projects. And whenever I built any Python model, I never understood what exactly happened under the hood from linguistics perspective. So I think that is what I was looking for from this program, and the curriculum looks pretty promising. So I'm hoping it's going to solve my queries.
From what I've heard, it will. But so the next question I have here, and this is a question that we get quite commonly, which is about, as a non-STEM student, how difficult is it to take this course? I think all of you are STEM people. So I think the spin that we'll put on this question is, what is your background? How did that affect the way that the course was for you? And what did you see in the students that used, a lot of people with a sort of a language background? How was that different? How was your experience different from them? And I'm going to go to Shounak first. If you tell us, what was it like?
Yeah, again, I was STEM, and I have quite a number of years of programming background, which really helped. Especially the first few modules of the program was kind of a breeze for me. However, that's when some of the non-STEM folks had some challenges and difficulties. But what I observed is after that initial foundation blocks, we were kind of in the same level, and from January onwards, they were as at ease as anyone from STEM background, right? So it will be a steep learning curve for non-STEM in the beginning, but it's designed in a way that it will bring you up to speed fairly quickly.
Yeah, so Mia, what was your background?
Yeah, I'd also like to add on Shounak's. Also, my background is in mathematics. I'm probably the most non-STEM in terms of us three. I did not have any programming experience other than one Python course. So for me, I took one Python online course before coming to the program, and that really helped. And I also had a good friend from my cohort who was non-STEM and who had a linguistic background. But she did really well in the program, and she found taking a Python course before and some university level math courses really helped at the beginning of the program. And then towards the later half, yeah, she did really well. And she was often able to provide linguistic perspectives to the projects or the assignments that we do. So yeah, definitely, it's okay for non-STEM students.
Thanks. And Sneha?
So I agree with Shounak and Mia. So I would just like to add, like, the courses are structured in such a way that it starts from the basic and then it goes to advanced. It's a little fast paced. So I think I would suggest the non-STEM students to go through the learning resources. We have a lot of learning resources on the MDS page. So I think if you do a few courses on Python and statistics, it should be good.
Thanks very much. And we have a related question coming in, which is, how much experience did you have in linguistics before you started taking the course? And I guess linguistics is one thing, but also language experience is something else that's interesting. So how much language or linguistics experience did you have? And start with Mia first.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of linguistics background. I do like to work with language. I love learning languages, which is why it led me to this program as well.
And Shounak?
No background, no linguistic background, never learned language formally. I mean, of course, I've learned languages in the sense, French or English for sure, but not the study of languages itself. I had no background.
Sneha, did you have any background in language or linguistics before that?
No, I just had taken one NLP course in my undergraduate, and that's it. No specific linguistics background.
I'll sort of add that, I mean, this is a course, a master's degree that is designed for people that, so that it's very suitable for people who have a linguistics background, with the caveat that it's a good idea to do some self-study before, if not actually some programming courses before taking it. The other thing that I think it's maybe useful to add is that I think with graduate degrees especially, whatever experience you have coming into the degree is going to be useful afterwards. So we've had people in the past who have an undergraduate degree in maybe civil engineering. Well, there's a lot of applications of computational linguistics to civil engineering. So you maybe have a background in a particular language and linguistics more generally, or just a subject domain that it becomes really useful to use computational linguistics in that subject domain. Yeah, so we're going to move on a little bit to the discussion of the courses and curriculum. And I see a question here from one of our attendees, which is, are the courses more related to linguistics, or are they related to programming? What kind of a mix, or do they blend the two? So Sneha, you've started the program. What is the start of the program like? Is it more linguistics, more computational at the beginning?
So the first 3 blocks of the program is very similar to what the MDSB students do. So the first 3 block focuses on building your foundation. We focus on machine learning, Python, R, and databases. And the next 3 blocks focuses on linguistics and language processing. And I think those courses are a blend of linguistics and programming. So, yeah.
And Mia, what do you feel in terms of the blend?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sneha. I would say towards the second half, you get a lot of linguistic courses, but as well as the more advanced machine learning stuff, so neural networks and things. I think it's not a direct split. They really blend into each other.
Yeah, for me, it is a blend, of course, but even within that blend, I saw 2 aspects. One is semantic and one is syntactic. And semantic is something we all understand, whether we have studied languages or not, because it's meaning. However, there is the syntactic courses, which have English or whatever language rules and grammar associated as well. So I kind of make that distinction even within the CL courses.
I'll throw in that we've developed some self-study materials that we send to students before the program is even started, so that they can get a bit of practice on linguistics or also in programming. So those are some possibilities that are there as well. In terms of the courses, for Shounak, I'd like to ask, how supportive did you find the instructors when you were struggling, or you of course didn't struggle, but when your classmates were struggling in their coursework, how supportive were the instructors? Are they reachable? Are they, how close knit is the interaction between instructor and student?
Yeah, it was wonderful, right? And it's not, there are many channels where we can get help if we are stuck. Of course, one is the instructor. Well, the biggest advantage I found is that lectures are recorded. In our batch, it was, the online. I actually found that quite useful because you can always revisit it, replay it, and then often you will understand better. Then there was Slack, right? Each course had a channel and you're always able to reach the instructors, get almost instant answers within a few hours. Lab instructors, you have, office hours where you can ask your questions. And then you had your batchmates. Of course, we did not share too much information in terms of code and how we did it, but general conceptual level discussions were phenomenally helpful. So multiple resources to get help.
Sneha and Mia, did you have anything to add to that question?
Yeah,
I agree with Shounak.
Sorry, you go ahead, Sneha.
Yeah, I agree with Shounak. I actually really appreciate we also have office hours. So there is a TA or a professor running the office hour, and those have been really helpful. So if there is some bit from the lecture that you haven't understood or you're stuck with a question in the lab, they're always happy to help.
Yep, totally agree.
I have to say I've been very impressed. Sometimes we have this idea of professor as someone sort of remote and austere, and I think we have really intelligent people as professors, but also very kind people working in the program. So it's also nice as an administrator to work with such people. We've talked about struggling on assignments. Sometimes in order to get through an assignment, I at least found that the solution was to do something other than schoolwork. So I have a question for all of you. What did you do or what are you doing, Sneha, to unwind throughout the course of the program? What is or was the work-life balance like, and how did you handle that? So we'll start with Sneha. You're in the midst of this.
Thank you. So basically, it has been very intense. So I actually, after we finish our lectures or lab, we try to go for a walk. We go to the beach. So the campus is very beautiful. There are 2 to 3 beaches, and there's a rose garden. So we go for a walk. And other times I come back home, watch a TV show, or basically do something that I enjoy to blow off the steam, and then again get back to my assignments.
So Mia, what type of tips do you have for students? What did you do to unwind?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend to go to the gym because we're sitting all day and coding, so it's nice to get some physical exercise. But during my cohort, there was the pandemic, so not much to do outside. I just learned to stay at home and chill and watch some shows when I have my free time.
Yeah, I think both you and Shounak were kind of the pandemic cohort, for better or for worse, and so some of your answers might be a little bit more specific. But I think, like with most things, you know, I found, for example, we're talking about capstones a little bit later, and people have been asking, well, can the capstones be done remotely? And now we say, why not? Whereas so we're kind of taking the best practices that we've learned there and trying to continue with those on. Shounak, what did you do to or did you?
No, you have to. I strongly recommend you have to. Otherwise, you know, it will be very tough. I had family. I had a 5-year-old. So my recreation and time off was to play with him. And I made it a point not to do anything related to MDS on Sundays. So come Saturday, 6 p.m. submission, and that's it. I wrap up. I do not do anything with MDS on Sundays. Sundays where usually I just go out with family. So that helps rewind quite a lot.
That's a great idea. Yeah. So in terms of this sort of school life work balance, another question is it possible to hold down a part-time job and do the program? So for the kind of emotional take on it, I guess, Sneha, you're in the middle. How would you be able to take on an extra job, a 40-hour job right now?
No, not at all.
No.
So it is not recommended to do a part-time job, but I know a couple of batchmates who are managing, working on something else along with the classes, but it is really intense. So I wouldn't suggest anyone to do that.
I know that Shounak actually, I wouldn't say ignored the advice, but listened to the advice and decided to act otherwise. So you decided to take on a job. What tips or what thoughts do you have on that?
Yeah, again, as I agree, it's quite hard. It's probably it's not feasible because the course is challenging, it's intensive, and you just can't take your mind off the assignments. They are bombarded, they're continuously coming. However, I did it. It was in the same field. So actually applying I'm very an application oriented person. So I wanted to see how to apply what I learned in the market as soon as possible. And there was a project, quite well-defined project, and it was in NLP. So I said, why not? And it was quite flexible. The hours were very flexible. They were limited, so I could manage it. Every time we may not get such opportunities, so I was lucky, I guess. But yeah, overall, very challenging to do any kind of job in this course.
Yeah, the official advice is do not do something else, and I think maybe the secondary piece of advice is if you do, don't count on being able to do it, and certainly start it off. As Shounak said, he has a pretty strong computational background anyways, and so found that he was able to manage that. But really, I would not enter counting on being able to do even even waiting tables or something that doesn't take a lot of mental energy. It's a very heavy course, and we'd like to see you succeed. So how early do classes start in the morning, and how late do classes go? What is the sort of flow over the week look like? I think I'll go with Sneha again, since this is very fresh in your mind right now. You probably looked at your schedule first thing as you woke up this morning.
Yeah, so the classes start at 8, And since we have classes in person, usually on some days the classes are back to back. Some days you have a break in between. And the labs are usually from 2 to 4. So you're always done by 4. So you have plenty of time to do something of your own or work on your assignments.
And Mia or Shounak, did you have anything to add to that? I see Shounak.
Our experience was different, right? We were that online only batch. I found it quite useful actually. Flexibility, right? Even if you miss a lecture for whatever reason, you can watch it again. It started at 9, if I remember correctly, and ended at 4. The labs finished at 4. There was a break in between of a couple of hours. Yeah, so that was 9 to 4. Then I used to take a break, and then in the late evening again get back to the lab, continuing if there was something pending.
Yeah, and I think that at this stage, the instructors have continued to take videos and make the videos available. And there's been discussion about whether to continue that or not, but we'll see. It's we're certainly, as I said, we really care about making things accessible for our students and trying to support student learning, and so we'll keep that in mind. Yeah. So, what is the typical? So we talk about the typical life of a student over a day, how to balance that with other things. What did you find it like being in Vancouver? And the pandemic Vancouver is hopefully, as we're hopefully coming out of it, is different from vaccinated Vancouver. Yeah, Mia, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what was it like being a student on campus at UBC?
Yeah, I actually came to Vancouver just for this program, even though I didn't have to, but I just really like to have the feeling that I go to school here. So I moved from Montreal, which is a lot colder, and Vancouver is just so beautiful, and UBC is so beautiful. I fell in love with it, so I'm currently still living here. Yeah, it's great.
I think that Shounak, even though you kind of didn't have to come, you're in the greater Vancouver area now too. So what was it that was attractive to you?
No, Vancouver is quite arguably one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's a fantastic quality of life, the beautiful combination of urban and natural beauty. So, and I'm enjoying it every day. I still feel there's so much to discover every day in Vancouver. So you will have a great time.
So Sneha, now that things have normalized a little bit, the first block of classes was online, but now you have in-person classes. What's it like walking around on campus now for you?
So usually it's difficult to get up for an 8 o'clock class, but once you see the campus, once you see that view, it's all fine. So compared to the first block, I really like the in-person pattern more. And we also have recorded lectures. Our in-person lectures are recorded. So you have the flexibility to go rewatch, or if you have missed, you can watch it. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that all of you are enjoying the natural surroundings here. So I'd like to turn the conversation a little bit more to careers. I mean, as the career planning and placement coordinator, of course, I love to talk about careers. So I'm curious about what your career goals were in doing the program, how you've found that the program has helped you to satisfy those career goals for Mia and Shounak, who are now out of it. So I guess we'll start with Shounak. What were your career goals going into the program, and how was the program able to help you capitalize or reach those goals? And what were some of the ways that maybe the program was different than you thought it would be, even in a negative sense? We want to give people a real sense of what the program is like and what it is and isn't.
Yeah, I feel I am some sort of an outlier actually. Even within my batch, I had a lot of work experience in a variety of roles, both technology and business, combining. So in that sense, some sort of an outlier. And I really wanted to learn and get into, I was in technology and business, but not directly into AI and languages and NLP. And I really wanted to get in, not just understand it at an overall sense, but actually build applications by hand and really get into it and totally understand it. So that was my objective. I did it, and that's the course. It's not an overview course. It's not a high level course for managers or for business people. It is a hands-on course. So I learned all of that. Now, have I, again, I am now in a job which doesn't need me to code, which is again different from many of you out there. I am back to a management position, however, with a very detailed understanding of how AI works, how ML works. And that really helped me get the job also, and also to understand, how to apply those, what I learned, to solve business problems.
So Mia, how did you find that the course helped you to meet your career goals, and how was it, how was it different or the same from what you thought it would be?
Yeah, I guess I'm a very nice contrast to Shounak because I'm your typical grad. I went straight into this program after my undergrad, so I don't have a lot of work experience coming into the program. I had one internship, but that was about it. I didn't even know what data science really was. Like I had some vague ideas, but I don't know exactly what it is. But now I'm working in a NLP position in a telecom company. So I guess the program helped me define my career goal in the first place. I realized my passion for NLP and I realized my passion for language. It also provided me a great network. The alum community is very active, and I got my current role through the network of CL students. So it's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, so for both Mia and Shounak, I'm curious to know, what type of, you mentioned telecom company, Mia, but what size of company are you working at? What type of industry is it? And if you can even tell us what the name of the company is. What is it? Shounak, tell us about your company you're working at.
Yeah, so I'm a senior manager at a company called CN. I think most of you in this call would know CN. It's Canadian National. It's a railway logistics B2B transportation company. And we are building an entire supply chain platform for the company from scratch. So it's a lot of software, but it is full of AI and NLP at every step. So that's where I am at.
Oh, and Mia?
Yeah, I'm currently working at Bell. So Bell Canada, and I'm in the NLP team, which analyzes just do your typical NLP modeling and then try to provide customers with a better experience.
Wow, so two really flagship Canadian companies that a lot of people have heard of. And Sneha, I mean, you were working at a flagship company too that, you mentioned Deutsche Bank earlier in the call. So when you heard about the MDSCL, you mentioned a little bit, what were the career goals that you really wanted to forward with it, and how is it matched or maybe deviated a bit from what you thought?
Yeah, my initial.
Sorry, I said Sneha.
Oh, okay, sorry.
My apologies, Mia.
So I think it has matched my expectations. So in Deutsche Bank, my role was more focused on software development and less of data science, even though I did work on a couple of data science projects. So data science interested me more, which actually drew me to the program. And going through the courses and the assignments, I feel like I am doing what I'm interested in. So I think I look forward to becoming a data scientist.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this is something that I've heard from a few people involved in data science from other programs as well, that they tend to attract people who want interesting work. So it's not just necessary work at well-regarded organizations, it's also fun. So yeah, that's great. What for Mia and Shounak, you had the hopefully not too unpleasant experience of looking for work in this crazy chaotic year of 2020, 2021. So what was that like coming from the MDS? Mia, we'll let you go ahead now. What was it like looking for work in 2021?
Yeah, it was a bit scary at first because of the pandemic and the fact that I'm a new grad. But again, I benefited a lot from this alum community that we have. I got an interview. I got my first interview through an alum, and I got my current position through another alum. So it's really through this network that we have.
Yeah, that's great. This is something that we really try to encourage. I think sometimes in degree programs, people can feel like they're in competition with each other. And it maybe a bit of healthy competition is okay, but we really want to encourage folks to work together, to see each other's strengths, and then to help each other along on completing the program. Shounak, what was the job search like for you?
Yeah, I've been super lucky. I I got the job through networking on LinkedIn. It was through a connection that I had known. In fact, my strategy was when I came to Canada, started the course, I reached out to him, mentioning that I am doing NLP and UBC Masters. So that was like awareness. And then luckily, when the course finished, he was given a new assignment of building a team, and he was hiring for this. And he reached out to me on LinkedIn. And that was it. I gave 3-4 rounds of interviews at CN, and that's it. I didn't interview for any other company.
Oh, wow. Good for you. And this is, we actually do, I mean, some folks like Shounak have a knack. They just know how to network anyways, but we actually do explicitly teach those skills within the program as well. And so you don't feel bad if you're a bit shy. We will equip you with the skill set that you need to find things. Jumping a little bit back, so we've been talking about the course and what you liked about it and how it fit into your job search. But to zoom out a little bit, there was a point where you were probably looking at different master's courses. And of course, in Canada, I think right now we're maybe the only computational linguistics course still, but we're certainly not the only data science course. We're certainly not the only computational linguistics program in North America. So Sneha, I'd like to go to you and ask, what was it particular about UBC MDS-CL that was appealing to you rather than, instead of other options that were out there?
I did consider other data science programs, but I think what attracted me the most about MDSCL was the curriculum. So there are very few courses that are focused on linguistics or on NLP. And most of the courses are long. So this course being 10 months is a very big plus. And last but not the least, it's in Vancouver, such a beautiful city. So yeah, this was a clear choice.
So Mia, what was your process like? Why did you end up applying to MDSCL over other programs?
Yeah, first of all, I really like the computational linguistics part of it, and which is a big reason why I chose this program. I also like the fact that it's course-based and only has 10 months, which is exactly what I needed. I also like the fact that it's, even though our cohort was online, but it's not an online program. And with the professors and the classmates, coming into the program, I didn't know much about data scientists, but I was able to learn from my professors, my TAs, that they bring their expert knowledge to let me know what this field is all about. And that I feel like that's something I can't get out of from just an online program from Coursera or anything. So yeah.
Shounak, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, for me, the 10-month course was a winner. At this stage of my career, I couldn't take a longer course. This was very much in depth, at the same time short, and I needed that.
Yeah. One thing I'll ask you, I don't know if so you see that sometimes there are these coding boot camps out there. Did any of you consider those? How does this differ from a coding boot camp? Mia, did you ever look into those?
Yeah, I did. And sort of just going back to what I said, I really feel like this university program would prepare me better just to give me that systematic knowledge rather than just a one-off boot camp thing.
Either Sneha or Shounak, did you ever look at those? Did you? No. From what I've seen, we tend to go in a lot greater detail and a lot more theoretical knowledge in this as opposed to in a boot camp. So I see that there's one question here that's about is there a lot of teamwork in the courses? And there is certainly in the Capstone courses. And I think that there's been an effort because in the Capstone, the teamwork has been, I think, both successful and has been important for people's future careers. But it'd be nice to hear from you, how much teamwork did you do in the degree? And what is your feel? Because teamwork can sometimes be controversial. If you're working with a team you love, it can be the best experience, but it can be kind of best of times, worst of times. So Mia, what was the teamwork experience like?
Yeah, there's tons of teamwork experience. So we had group assignments, we had project-based courses, which are in groups as well. We had the Capstone, and I feel like teamwork is, although it can be good experience or bad, well, not that fun experience, but it's so important because as data scientists, we never work alone. And even in the company setting, we're always working with other people. And I feel like the teamwork experience prepared me very well for what's coming going into the industry.
So thanks very much, Mia. So Sneha, you're in, is it block 2 now that you're in? And how much teamwork have you seen? What has it been like?
Yeah, so both in block 1 and block 2, we were assigned teams randomly, and every week there's a group assignment. So I feel the teamwork has been really helpful in getting to know your classmates, and you also get used to working with different types of teams. So there could be a possibility that you maybe like one team better than the other, but you always learn how to work with everyone.
So to put a slightly different spin on it, Shounak, how did you find the teamwork in this course? Was it similar to in past degree programs? And I'm also curious whether you found it useful in your current work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the teamwork is by design in the MDS courses, and it's, in my view, it gets more and more intense. The teamwork gets more intense, of course, culminating in Capstone, which is all about teamwork. Initially, there are some questions you have to do together as a team, and then you end up doing an entire project together as a team. So I think that ramp up of teamwork is there in the design. It totally helps because in life, when you're in the job, you don't get to choose often your team. You're put in a team and you have to deliver, right? You have to perform. You need to know how to work together as a team, especially in the data sciences world. Understand roles and responsibilities, understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, and kind of allocate work as per that. So yeah, tremendously helpful.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. So we are pretty explicit actually about even giving teamwork skills and teaching teamwork skills for exactly the reason that Shounak says, sometimes we get to choose our teams, but in reality, it's very often the case you're working with all kinds of personalities, some who are a good fit for our own personalities and some who are not. So yeah, let's see. So now that we've kind of moved into the Capstone, so of course Sneha is not quite in the Capstone yet, but Mia and Shounak both participated in Capstone projects. So what kinds of industries were available for you to choose from when you were choosing your project? Mia, what did you see? What were you interested in getting out of your Capstone?
Yeah, the ones I remembered were, there was a startup, a typical tech startup that was doing a chatbot. I worked with our own UBC linguistic department to develop a model for them. there was also there was also one from the legal area to look through some of the legal documents. So yeah, there's a variety of industries, and I really enjoy learning languages. So I chose the linguistic project. But yeah, there's definitely tons of options.
Shounak, what kind of project did you do, and what was the selection like when you were choosing your?
Yeah, there is always choice. As Mia said, it's a mix of startups, supporting university projects, or big firms as well. I was fortunate enough to do it for a mid-sized product company called Dialpad. And this is all about customer experience management software. And the work I did was on text again, because it's NLP. So transcribers listen to audio and they write down what they listen to. So that's transcription. And that is fed into the AI machine learning model, which learns with that as the training data, right? And my project was really about finding errors in the transcriptions themselves, even though they were done by humans, because even humans make mistakes, right? So it was challenging because the data set is erroneous, and you have to find errors in an erroneous data set, right? So it's quite challenging. It was actually the most intense part of MDS-CL for me. It was a challenging project.
Interesting. It's interesting you say, because I've heard from a lot of people that it's not I guess it's almost more self-paced when you get to that capstone part of it, whereas in other parts of the program, it's intense and everything is kind of blocked out in your day. But for the capstone, it's your team that's choosing it, and it's a change of pace. It might be a faster pace, but it's a change of pace. So, I mean, my one of the main parts of my role within the program is soliciting these projects, and we try to get as broad an array of possible choices as we can. Some large organizations, some startups, some in the private sector, some public, some not-for-profit. And it's the students who we have an initial screening process where our faculty look at it and ensure that it will be an adequate learning experience, that it's not just data entry or something that's not very useful for you as students. And then we allow the students to choose which projects that they would, they indicate which projects that they're interested in. So we really do our very best to make sure that students are working on a capstone that they find interesting. And they're welcome to try and bring in their own capstone too, although that can get a little bit more complicated. Yeah. Did you find in your capstone project, so there's a question which is, how defined was the problem that you were working on? Or did you start off with, first do A, then B, then C, or was it more roughly defined and allowing you a chance to explore it? I guess we'll start with Mia again. What was that like? Was it really all laid out in advance, or how much creativity did you get to bring into it?
Yeah, because I worked with some professors in the linguistic department who are non-tech, there was a certain back and forth just discussing the scope of the project. Like initially they wanted something to be done, but then we explored the data and tell them this is what we can do, this is something we can't do at the moment. But so it takes some bit of discussion, but eventually the project was laid out nicely and we know exactly what we're doing. We ended up providing a satisfying product to them. So yeah.
Great. And Shounak, what was your experience like?
Yeah, the objective was quite clear from the beginning. Dialpad told us what exactly they needed us to do. However, we did scope it a little bit, to manage their expectations as well. For example, we told them that, yes, we will find errors in the transcriptions, but we will not do a real-time version of it. And that was okay with them. So it's important to set expectations. But I know there are a few other projects where the objectives were the objectives evolved based on what is possible technically, because sometimes the sponsors of the projects, they don't know data science and AI, and they expect something, however, something else may be possible. So yeah, there is scope to shape the project.
And we've been, in the way that we've been soliciting projects, one of the things that we've been saying more recently is give us a sort of your main goals, and you can give us a product that you definitely want, and then maybe build off of that as time allows afterwards, because often you come up with better ideas halfway through the project than you even had at the beginning. So there is a place for some agility and some flexibility there. So we have some general questions. Just shift a little bit, going back a bit to what's it like living in Vancouver? So was it difficult to find a place to live in Vancouver? And Sneha, since you weren't able to contribute too much to Capstone, I'll pass that to you. What was it like, fresh in mind, finding a place to live in Vancouver?
I would suggest everyone who's applying to the course, if you're looking for on-campus housing, maybe apply well in advance. And people who are looking for off-campus, I think it's easier if you are in Vancouver. Like I was doing the off-campus hunting virtually, and it was a bit difficult. But once I came to Vancouver, it got really easy. So yeah.
Shounak, did you have, what was the?
Yeah, again, my case was again a little bit different. I was looking for family housing, right, off campus. Because the course was online, I felt I could live off campus. It was a bit difficult because as a newcomer, you don't have a credit score. You don't have a previous landlord who is in Canada. So yes, and it's not like they were refusing, but they had other options who had those, right? So I was not getting preferred in many cases. But eventually, I think it took me about 20 days to find accommodation, and I got a good one.
And Mia, how was it for you finding accommodation?
Yeah, I think mine is similar to Sneha's. I lived on campus, and yeah, I found UBC housing was really convenient and reasonably priced as well. Although Vancouver is a bit expensive in terms of housing, but UBC residences were pretty nice.
So I mean, you can save a lot of money by living in Maple Ridge or Coquitlam or something like that. How close do you recommend living? You already answered this a bit, but living to UBC campus. Shounak, what do you think about that?
I would, if I was an MDS course now, I would absolutely live in the campus. If it's an in-person course, 100% recommended to live in campus.
And Mia or Sneha, I think you both already said that you recommend living on campus. Yeah. So that's useful data, 3 useful data points there. We've had a couple of questions here in the chat. What level of coding would you recommend for people? I don't know how you would measure that specifically, but how good should people be at well, Python and R are the languages that are used. What level should people have in that before they start the master's degree? I'll go to you, Mia, first, because you're from the non-STEM, I'll put in quotation marks, math background.
Yeah, I would say at least finish an introductory Python and R course, because even though I think the MDS program does teach you from the very, very beginning, but the first course goes through pretty quickly. So even though you get all of the information, you might not be able to practice them as much as you want. So maybe just do a bit in advance first, but not very advanced coding skill required.
Sneha and Shounak, do you have anything to add to that?
I would really say come prepared. I mean, as I said before, there is a steep learning curve, even if you don't know, and that's fine. But I would recommend, as much as possible, familiarize yourself with Python more than R, because in CL, the focus is mostly on Python. So you don't want to spend time learning Python when there is so much of NLP that you can apply and learn that way. So I would recommend do your homework before as much as possible. Familiarize yourself with Python.
So learn Python. Sneha, do you concur?
Yeah, I agree with both me and Shounak.
And so I guess that was a kind of language question. Turning to natural languages, how much does knowing another natural language, so programming language on the one hand, natural language like English or French or Spanish or Cantonese, how much did knowing another natural language help? Mia, I don't know if you know any other natural languages, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I do like learning languages. I learned Japanese on my own, and I'm learning French. I think it helps not in the sense that it would help you code or it'll help your model directly, but it's more like you get a sense of idea. You get this instinct when you apply linguistic knowledge to your model. So, for example, if you're constructing some features for your models, you would know what to focus on if you know about the language that you're working with, or if you just know about language in general. So it's sort of like an indirect effect that really benefits your modeling and gives you an edge compared to other competitors out there. Yeah.
Shounak?
Yeah, my answer would be much more practical. One of the courses we will do later is translation. And if you know only one language, which is English, how will you know that the model has translated it properly or not, right? So at least know one more language. In fact, we picked up a project on translation, and it helped that I knew at least one other language.
And I'll add to that UBC is really positioning itself as an expert in low resource languages. So that doesn't necessarily mean languages that have few speakers, but rather languages that if you try to speak in your car to your phone to get directions, that it just doesn't exist for that language. And we have a few graduates who are either native speakers or know these low resource languages, and now they've gotten work working with these languages, because there are quite a few of them out there, and even some with as many speakers as the United States. So there is work for there for that kind of people with that kind of knowledge. If you're interested in that, it can be really useful too. Do you? This is sort of a pragmatic question. So one of the folks attending said, if you're not supposed to work, then what options exist for one to pay for the to the program? So what options did you was it with savings? Was it with scholarships? Was it with student loans? What did you use in order to fund the program? And I'll start with Shounak.
No, I'd worked for a long time, so I had savings for the program. So it was not such a major challenge for me.
And Mia, did you?
Yeah, mine probably doesn't apply to everyone, but I basically had.
You don't have to say what you did. I'm sorry, I'm kind of putting people on this. But
yeah.
just in general, what options have you heard about people? We don't need your.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think in my cohort, some people would be working on the side to just earn some extra money to pay for the tuition. And so actually quite a few people had worked before, so they had savings. So yeah.
Yeah, did you have anything to add?
There's an awards and opportunities page on UBC website, and that has a lot of options for scholarships. So I know a lot of people who applied to those, and even I did.
Yeah. Good advice. So we're jumping around a little bit. Someone is asking if there is access to high performance computers or clusters to practice machine learning on campus, was that something that was useful in the course? Is that something that you used? Mia, did you have access to computing clusters or anything like that?
Not for the program, no. I think we basically used for the first half, you can get it off with just CPU, but we also use Google Colab quite a lot for GPU access. Yeah, so no clusters, unfortunately.
And Sneha or Shounak, do you have anything to?
No, Google Colab is enough actually for whatever we do, and there is an option to buy extra storage or extra computing if we need. Some of the courses may need it because there's heavy neural computation, but I would say a free version of Google Colab should be fine.
So not really necessary. It's possible that something like that might be used if it's offered as part of the capstone, that there might be some access to that, but it would really depend on the capstone and the year. Right. So, about 4 minutes, 4 minutes left, and let's see. We've answered a lot of these questions already. What is the most valuable thing that you gained from the program? So we've talked about things that are of value, but what is the most valuable? And we'll go to Mia first. I think I've been picking on Mia a lot, but we'll pick on you once more.
Yeah, no problem. For me, it's the network and the ability to self-learn, sort of, because now that I have this systematic knowledge about computational linguistics and about data science, this field is evolving constantly. So there will be models every day coming out that we haven't learned in class. But now that I have this knowledge, I can just look it up and then learn it myself because I have that foundation built.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to what we were saying about this being a master's program as opposed to a boot camp, that you get the foundational knowledge such that you can build on that. Shounak, would you have anything to add to that? What was the most valuable thing that you got?
Yeah, I think the course gives a very good toolbox, and it's very application oriented, which was tremendous value for me. It's not theoretical at all. It's all how do you apply to solve a problem. And it's we will be equipped with the fundamentals of how to solve it, but then the trick is how do you refine it, how do you improve accuracy, and that's really the last mile, which is the self-learning part of it. So yes, we are equipped, but then how do you make a shippable product in the market? That's take a lot of self-learning and self-research.
And Sneha, you can answer it either what the most valuable thing you've learned so far, or you could also say theoretically, what do you think will be the most valuable thing you get from the course?
So far, without a doubt, the most useful thing is time management. I never knew it was possible to do so many things together, but I feel I've been really productive in the past 2 months. So that's a very good thing.
So this actually almost qualifies, but what are the tips to succeed in MDS-CL? I guess good time management skills are one tip. Shounak, what would your tips be to succeed?
One of the things I tried to do, of course, you will not be always successful, is as soon as the classes, the theory, the lecture starts, do some pre-reading and almost start on the lab on Monday, right? And that will help you take, you otherwise you'll be under pressure, because come Friday, if you start, no way, you can't do it. So the early starts to every week with some pre-read and pre-preparation helps a lot.
Yeah, so Sneha and Mia, I'll get your tips, and then I think we'll sign off for today. But Sneha, what are your tips for success?
I agree with Shounak. But yeah, the main tip would be not to procrastinate, try to be proactive, start all the labs early, and make sure you're clear with the concepts and you're attentive in the lecture before you start your labs.
Absolutely. Mia, what are your tips for success?
Yeah, I totally agree with just do the labs immediately after classes. They stack up really quickly. Also, I would add just to maybe form a study group with your classmates or with a few friends, not to copy answers, of course, but just to discuss things and learn from each other. That can really help.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your tips and also for your time today. We really appreciate it. I mean, as Mia's mentioned, this course is what it is because of the great students and alumni that we have, just like all three of you today. So thank you so much. If you've been watching from home and you have some questions and you haven't had them answered, then please do either check our frequently asked questions page. I see that Vanessa has posted that to the chat, or you can contact us through the MDS-CL website. And yeah, big thanks to all of you for today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.